Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. You might be wondering where AJ Pelletier is. Well, you're in for a treat. Here comes a special episode of The Roads We Traveled, hosted by me, Doug Lenington. And our guest today is none other than AJ Pelletier. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the Season 2 closeout, and we hope you enjoy. Welcome to The Roads We Traveled, episode 43? 43. I'm your host, Douglas Lenington. And you might be asking yourself, wait a minute. AJ is the host of The Roads We Traveled. And you're absolutely right. Except for this episode, I'm in control. Because for this final episode of Season 2, we're going to be interviewing AJ Pelletier. I got a lot of questions. None of them have been presented to him like Donna Brazile and Hillary Clinton. We're going to make sure that everything is off the cuff, a real live interview, just like he does. I'm going to host it the same way, hopefully, and we're going to ask some questions. I have some stuff that I've written down, and I'm ready to ask. But first off, I want to introduce my guest, the host with the most something or other podcast stuff, is AJ Pelletier. Welcome to your podcast, sir.
This is so weird.
Isn't it?
Yes, it's very weird. I'm a little sad, though. We were supposed to do this in person, but due to unforeseen circumstances, we had to do it virtually. But I'm glad we could still do it today. So thanks for doing this, Doug.
Absolutely. I appreciate being your second choice as a host. I know you had other people in mind, but, they couldn't do it. So here I am. So if you don't like it, blame AJ. No, I appreciate it. I really do. I want to start out the gate by saying that I actually really appreciate your podcast. You and I kind of come from the same area when it came to the podcast, about how we felt when we were seeing the Joe Rogan podcast kind of expand and become a larger thing. And that was like straightforward talk. If you remember, I did the Nice to Meet You podcast where I tried to do the similar ideas, and it kind of fizzled out. Everything I do in life and stuff, it's just not conducive to a regular schedule. And I understand the amount of work that you put in to make this podcast possible, and all the platforms that you put it up on, and all the variety of guests that you get. One of the biggest things that I love about your podcast is the fact that you really do get into mental health, and you get into what people are feeling and how they're doing. I've opened up on your podcast on different occasions about the struggles I go through life, and other people as well. And I feel that part of your podcast is important. Like everybody, let me put it this way. I think everybody knows it's coming at some time during your podcast. It's just a matter of when. Like we can talk about games and comics and music and whatever, but at some point we're gonna do like what do they call the ice core? We're gonna take a core machine. We're gonna drill into your brain, and we're gonna figure out like where you are in life. If you want to open up, how you feel about things going on around you. I just think that what you do and how you present your podcast is something different, and I think it's special, in my opinion.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, this podcast is a lot of work. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in my spare time. It takes away from too much of my spare time, I should say. Where I'm away from family members and stuff. But I guess like during the pandemic when this whole thing started, it was something for me to do to keep myself from being totally isolated, I guess, to still talk to friends, communicate, and do something creatively in my spare time, since I couldn't be with anybody face to face. You know what I mean? So, and it was also another way to deal with my own mental illness, as well as honor my friend who I've talked about in previous episodes who passed away from suicide. So it's a way to honor him.
What was the moment that you decided that this was going to be a thing for you? Like you were going to say, you know what, I'm going to do a podcast. And did you right out the gate say, I'm going to do a podcast that focuses on how people are doing, and like your podcast name hints at, the roads we've traveled. It's, I look at that name as where we've been as humans, not just me or you, but all of us together and separate. What was the moment that you said, you know what, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put this out there? And did you know right away you were going to make a podcast that did focus on that mental health, or did you just kind of like ease into it and say, yeah, this is a good direction?
So anyone that knows me knows that I'm no stranger to podcasting. From my days on DIU TV, the Lurch and Dom live broadcast, to being on episodes of the Metal Syndicate back when they were still around, and being a part of the League of Extraordinary Frontmen and being a host on that show with my friends talking about comic books and everything like that. But when all of that kind of stopped, like right towards the end of 2019, right before the pandemic hit, I was listening to a lot of Michael Rosenbaum's podcast called Inside of You. And for those who don't know who Michael Rosenbaum is, he is an actor who played Lex Luthor in the hit TV show Smallville. And he also is, yeah, and they just celebrated 20 years just recently too. Wow. So yeah, I can't believe how old that show is. But that show did come after, like, right after 9/11. So, but so he has a podcast where it's basically almost the same premise. He interviews a lot of his famous friends. He's interviewed Dave Bautista, Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah.
I've had a crush on her forever.
He's interviewed like Seth Green, James Gunn, like a bunch of people, and they all dive into mental health and like how they all grew up and everything. Like Dave Bautista's story was crazy, and even like Zachary Levi's story was crazy too. And I was just like, wow. And listening to those episodes while I was dealing with my own stuff at the time at work, I was like, man, I really want to do a podcast like that. I just don't know who would go for it. You know what I mean? So, because, I know a lot of people in the scene and everything, but like no one really opens up about their problems half the time, except for like, you and I or some of our other close friends. Like if we're like having a rough time, we'll talk to each other. But like, I didn't know so many other people were like, as soon as I said the idea on Facebook, are waiting. Right.
I think people are waiting for the invitation to open up,
right,
more than they just are like, hey, I got to tell you something. They're waiting for somebody like you to say, hey, want to sit down and talk?
Yeah, exactly. And as soon as I put that up on Facebook, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about making this podcast, interviewing guests about their lives and dealing with mental health and stuff like that. Like I got a ton of responses from people like, absolutely love to be a part of it, or like, I would love to listen to that. Let's, do it, like do it up, like let's do it. So and that's how it started.
Big change from when we were kids, where it was basically man up, suck it up. Like when you grow up in the 80s and 90s, at least where I did, it was, suck it up, don't be an ass, don't be a pussy. Like,
yeah,
you gotta just push through and don't ask for help. And it took me into my early 30s before I realized like asking for help is okay. Like it's okay to talk to other people and say, hey man, because if you don't open up and talk about how you're doing, you're just and the best way I can put it is you're cheating yourself. If you can't open up and say, hey man, I'm feeling down. Like this weekend, like I told you yesterday, I'm in a rut right now. I slept all day yesterday. I did nothing with my Saturday. Today I slept all day to like just where I am, and it makes me feel better. It's not the best, but I didn't want to go outside. I went to the grocery store finally. Like I ain't gonna lie about it. I'm also okay. I'm not telling people just because I'm in danger zone or anything. But
yeah, I mean, like
with my weekend,
at least you got to the grocery store. You got up and you went. You could have easily opened up that Instacart app and had the food delivered to you. You know what I mean? But I
don't want to pay extra fees.
Well, true, but I mean, like
I'm living dollar by dollar over here.
I mean, like we're all guilty of that sometimes, though. Like me, especially. When I'm overwhelmed and too busy, and I use one of those apps. But there are other days where, like my depression is so much where I don't want to leave the house, and I'll use services like that because I just want to be isolated. I don't want to talk to anybody. I feel safer in my environment. but like it was something like Josh said. It was like little wins here and there, like, okay, like I took a shower today, or I went for a walk, stuff like that. Like you might not feel 100% like yourself, but it's those little wins that help get you through it, So
there's a student that I have that talks about little wins like that. He's obsessed with the military, and there's this one guy that says, I think the book is called Make Your Bed, and the guy says, first thing in the morning, if you make your bed, you already have a little win for the day. Like if that's the first thing you do right when you wake up, you're already on a positive track. And that's kind of the same thing you're saying here, like what Josh said. That's another thing that I want to ask you about with your podcast.
I just want to say
the guests that you get.
I never made my bed until I became an adult. Now I make my bed every day. So.
I never make my bed. I still don't. I make my daughter make her bed, but I don't make mine.
I make my bed now mainly because my cat likes sleeping in it, and I know where she goes all day, the litter box and whatever. So, like, I don't want that shit in my bed. So.
Makes sense.
Anyway,
teach your cat to make her bed. So that's another thing I wanted to touch on was the amount of variety of guests that you've had. I don't know if that's an English sentence I just used, but I'm going to go with it.
The variety of guests.
The amount of variety of guests. Yes. Josh is a great guest. When we do the round tables, I have a lot of fun because the round tables that we've done with like you and Chris Millay and Josh and Castro, like out of all of the group of friends that I have, I would say that you, Castro, Chris, and Josh are the most vocal about your mental health and how you feel and how you do. And I would say in my 20s, I kind of was just like, I was that guy that was like, depression, what the fuck is that? Like, you're just fucking being a baby about shit. And then once I started to have these conversations with you guys, Josh was probably the first one that I really had these conversations with. And I started to see like emotionally what people go through their day-to-day lives, whether it's relationships, work, just the weather, just being like Josh, a 7,000 pound giant human being of a bear, like, you know what I mean? Like seeing the day-to-day struggles that one person goes through. And that's when I kind of realized like my troubles and worries are just as big as yours, and they're real. They're there. You bring in a lot of different guests. What are some of the guests that you really enjoyed having or are upcoming in episodes? Because your guests are getting more eccentric, I think, like outside of just the music scene of people. Like it's not the same cycle of people. Like you're getting all these different individuals on the podcast. What are some of your favorites that you've had?
I don't want to just say like, I just want to say right off the back.
Pick one.
Yeah, I want to say right off the back that I love all of my guests. Everyone has their own unique story and battle that they go through, and no battle is the same. But picking guests, I definitely thought Otan Vargas' story was very interesting. For those who don't know Otan Vargas, he's a solo artist, musician from Massachusetts who came over here from the Philippines. And his story from coming to...
Is he the guitar player?
Yes. From coming to the Philippines, to America, and just his journey alone was just like so coming from a very like poor setting to here, and the culture shock and everything like that, and dealing with a variety of depression, and then hearing about how his father passed away and everything like that. That was a really inspiring story. And then like Desiree Ragosa's story was very good. Dennis Layton from The Grey Curtain, his story was heartbreaking and inspiring at the same time. I mean, the guy has been going through cancer treatment for years, and he grew up in not a great household. He had a very bad relationship with his dad, and there was like a lot of I guess his dad was just like child molestation and stuff like that, and he had to grow up with that and everything. And I was just, I couldn't even imagine that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because I didn't grow up in a household like that, and just hearing that was just so heartbreaking. But then like him overcoming and becoming not only a great singer, writing great music, but he has like all these ideas for like graphic graphic novels and stuff that he's working on that also intertwine with his music. I was just very intrigued by all of it, and he had a really good story. But it's just hard picking a favorite guest because everyone has a great story, and like episodes
say,
coming up too.
Maybe favorite guest isn't the best term.
Yeah,
maybe more memorable moments would be a better phrase for you.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think I got more emotional. I want to say with so whenever I would talk about my buddy, for instance, because like I still grieve about it, and I've talked about him on a few episodes, and guests have noticed. You know what I mean? Especially when it surrounds like suicide, I get emotional about that kind of stuff. And then we have a guest coming up. By the time this episode is out, the episode will already be out for what I'm talking about. Lynette Sweeney, her episode, she talks about how her son died from an overdose and his constant struggle with addiction and how he died so young and her grief and everything. It was very heartbreaking to hear all that because and I related to it so much because my buddy that committed suicide also had addiction problems too. So it was just like
self-inflicted loss is a tough one,
right?
Because there's generally usually people who know, even if the group is small, but the crowd that doesn't know is much larger, and it's like
right
without a place to open up and like to tell people it's okay. Like again, I said it before, when you're a man, supposedly you're supposed to be tough and rugged, and you can't talk about how you feel, but we're all human beings. When you look at it from a human aspect, I don't care whether you're a man, woman, anything in between, an attack helicopter, whatever it is you choose to be, the emotions are real, and that's what you're feeling. And I tell my students that all the time. Like, I don't care. It's what you're feeling. Like, it's not right or wrong. It's you. That's the way it works.
Right. And I mean, like, not a lot of people can do that either. Like, I've talked about my father all the time on here, and it's just his story is, just as heartbreaking too. He grew up in an abusive household. He grew up poor. His father was a veteran and an alcoholic, and he used to beat my dad and his siblings. He used to rape my grandmother, and he died when my dad was 16. So, and dealing with all that kind of trauma as a child and not, you know what I mean? And not being able to talk about it. Cause I wasn't very close with my grandma either. And she was also kind of a nut job herself too. Of course, I felt bad hearing all those stories about abuse and stuff to her, but she wasn't a saint either because she never worked a day in her life, and she would constantly take money from her kids. Like whatever money my dad made, she would take it from him. You know what I mean?
I've seen that before many a time.
Yeah. And it would go
my own family too.
It would go straight to booze and cigarettes. So there was never a time where I would walk in my grandmother's house and just be covered in cigarette smoke. You know what I mean? So, but
that's why I teach my daughter all the time. I tell her, look, what did you just say or do? Just tell me. And, they get that hesitant look because a child looks at you as a mentor. And I tell her, I will not be mad at you. I said, if you'll know when I'm mad at you, like when you intentionally do something that is egregious and wrong,
right,
that's when I'm mad at you. But if you're just accidentally saying a curse word or doing something you're not supposed to be doing, we're going to just talk about it. Like, I'm not here to flip out. Right. I grew up in a very violent household, like I talked to you about before in a previous episode. Go back and watch all the other episodes.
I just listened to it the other day too. Yeah.
Yeah. My household was super violent, like way over the top. And I don't want any of that in today's day and age. And like I said, I don't pull punches. I think my ex-wife has that kind of mentality, that aggressive, violent verbiage. And I'm glad that we're separated because the stuff that was said to me in front of my daughter was completely out of control. I do everything I can to promote positive energy and health in my daughter. Doesn't mean I let her get away with shit.
Right.
Like, there's no fucking way.
That's just being a parent, though. That's being a good parent.
But I remember when I was a kid and like all I cared about was like hugs and happiness and Legos and micro machines and coloring. And like I see that in my kid now. I'll have to show you later all the paintings she's doing. I bought
definitely.
I spent like $100 in acrylic paints and shit. And she's painting like a mad girl, like crazy. The stuff she's painting.
That's awesome.
And she's painting like sunrises and all this other stuff, like whatever she wants. I tell her, anytime you want to paint, just set it up. She sets up on the table right there and just paints like crazy. Kids need an outlet, and they need a positive outlet.
Yes.
And growing up like that. So let's use this transition spot to talk about you.
Okay.
Because you know it's coming when it's a Roads We Traveled podcast.
So what do you want to know? How I grew up and everything?
So let's start with you told me before, and I want to make sure that this is clear to everybody, that I can ask anything I want.
Yes.
So I am going to, when the time is right, like I'm going to ask some questions and things that I thought about, and we'll see where it goes. But first off, let's just start with where you grew up.
So I grew up in Waterbury, Connecticut. For those that don't know, Waterbury used to be called the brass city capital of the world. They used to have a ton of brass factories. They did a lot of brass watches, military ammunition, stuff like that for like the world wars and everything.
Want to know a fun fact about Waterbury too?
Go for it.
From a plumbing perspective, since I'm a plumbing contractor, they have a super intricate pumping system to get water to people at the top of the hills because of the way that Waterbury, that valley.
I know some of the main shutoffs. I know some of the main shutoffs are right under the police station too, from what I heard. So yeah,
it's a pretty impressive system.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just me nerding out. So,
but I
didn't know you grew up in Waterbury, though.
I did. And my mother tells this story every year on my birthday. Oh, she hasn't told it in the last couple of years because we haven't really done much for my birthday. But man, I put my mother through the ringer when she was in labor with me. My mother could not get to the hospital fast enough because her baby boy was on his way out the door. So as it turned out, I had the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck. And doctors had to, there was a chance that I was going to be born, slightly, I don't want to use the word, but mentally challenged. So they got me out. There was also some complications, and they thought I was going to die in the hospital. So they had me baptized, and I ended up pulling through. So this is a fun fact. I've been baptized twice in the Catholic Church. I was baptized once in the hospital, and I ended up going back to the hospital 2 weeks after I was born because I was having my esophagus was closing shut. So everything that I was eating was coming back up, and the medical term for that is pyloric stenosis. So I got operated on when I was 2 weeks old. I have the scar right here on my stomach still. And my mother was just a wreck like the whole time. Like, my dad was doing what he could too, but my mother was on her way down to the hospital the day of my procedure because I was already there. And she got hit by a drunk driver. And this is all true. This is all 100% true. I'm not fabricating everything. Yeah. And yeah, so, the guy got arrested, everything like that. And, he ended up calling my mother, once he sobered up and everything. And, he was like, listen, I'm really sorry. It was wrong of me. I should have, stayed home or whatever. I'm going through a really bad divorce right now, and I shouldn't have gotten behind the wheel. I apologize for everything. She's like, I'm sorry that you're dealing with all that, but my son is dying, and my infant son is in the hospital, and he's probably going to die. And you just like totally ruined my day getting there to be with him. And I was like, what the fuck, Mom? Like, why would you tell this poor guy all this shit? You know what I mean? Like, I felt bad.
That's where you're straightforward, like shoot from the hip. Like, I can see that. Like, that's where it comes from. You're telling people like it is and trying to speak like it is. And I think you get that from possibly your mother.
Yeah. So my mother is a saint. I love my mother. So, but that's thankfully all that got taken care of. I'm okay now. But like, yeah, I growing up was always, I don't know. It was, I'm one of four. I have an older brother, I have an older sister, and I have a younger brother. My older brother had leukemia when he was in second grade, and I don't remember a whole lot from it. I remember bits and pieces, but I remember going to UConn a lot of the time when he was there for treatments. I remember playing Nintendo with him in like the kids' room or something like that, just to like keep him company and stuff like that. And I remember times where he was crying a lot because he was in so much pain and we didn't know what was going on. And
Now, are all your brothers and sisters still alive to this day?
yes, yeah, no. My older brother Tom.
How about your parents?
My parents are both still alive too. But
Awesome.
yeah, everyone's fine. It was just a very, very scary time,
Right.
for my brother, because even Make-A-Wish came out to do something for him, and they flew us all out to Disney World. And that I remember a little bit here and there. I also remember we went to Universal at some point too. But I remember a funny story I told on a previous episode. My little brother and I were fishing on it was like a gazebo deck or something by the pond or something on Disney property where we were staying. And my dad was helping me. I think we were using cheese or whatever to like fish with. And my brother Marty was like,
funny.
yeah, my brother Marty was like, Dad. And he's like, I'll be right there, Marty. Dad. And then he looks over, my brother, like totally cartoonishly, like my brother is halfway off the dock because he caught a fish and the fish was pulling him in and he's hanging on by his feet. And my dad's like, oh, and then he runs over and grabs him and pulls him back. So I remember
one of my dad's tricks fishing was dry dog food. We used to fish with dry dog food, and whatever the bass would eat it up. In freshwater lakes, we would just use dry dog food.
But I mean, yeah. We never really fished that much because like my dad was not an outdoors person. We never went camping either because he just
I did so much of it that I'm tired of it.
I'm over it too. Like the most I do outdoors now is I go hiking. So, but that's about it. But
the hikes are awesome.
Yeah.
You got to hike with Mike. You guys got to collab, man.
Hell yeah, man.
Like your hikes are awesome. That place that you took me to the other week, that was just like, what a fantastic. I wish we had more time. I would have loved to just
let me know, dude.
We'll around for an hour or two.
Let me know one weekend you can come back up. We'll do it again. We'll do the whole one.
Yeah, I won't bring Audrey for that because she'll complain and want to go home.
but yeah, no.
Like this weekend, I don't have her, so 2 weekends from now.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So I was
talk about Sorry, you talk about health issues.
Yeah.
You want to finish your point?
I was just gonna say, my older brother got through all that, and thankfully my grandparents on my mother's side of the family were also very helpful too, because my grandfather, we call him Pepe, he's my mother's dad. He was a famous gynecologist in Waterbury. He had 9 kids. He delivered in his entire career, 12,000 it was 12,000 Waterbury babies. Yeah. He's actually in the
Waterbury babies.
Yeah. Waterbury babies. Yeah. No, like a lot of them. Yeah. No, I'm dead serious.
That's
like
awesome.
He has a plaque.
No, that's crazy.
He has a plaque. Yeah, he has a plaque down in City Hall for the Hall of Fame because he did a lot for the Waterbury community. He donated money to the church. He founded the OBGYN department at St. Mary's Hospital. He was the president of a few of the programs over there. He did a lot. He was also a World War II vet. And then when my brother got sick, he was just constantly like on the phone with doctors and talking about treatments and stuff like that. And just like, and then my grandmother would watch after us while my parents were up at UConn with my brother. You know what I mean? Like they were always there. And I loved my grandparents on my mother's side. They took care of us all the time. So, but that was most of my childhood growing up. We didn't get into the.
How long did you live in Waterbury for?
I didn't get out of Waterbury until I was 21.
Oh no shit!
Yeah, that was when I.
Did you go to Nasty Noggy from Waterbury, or did you go somewhere before?
No, I moved in with my ex-fiance in Naugatuck at 21. Yeah, so And then, we had our apartment for a little while. Then we bought a house. And then 6 months after we bought our house, I moved out. Yeah. We can talk about that later, though.
Yeah, rough deal. I mean, we'll get to that. But I want to talk a lot about one of the things that I know about you, and that's medical related. You have a lot of different medical things going on with you. Now, if I recall correctly, you have spinal issues, you have different types of health issues. I don't want to sit here and like pander to you, but I want you to bring up some of the issues that you have and whether or not, one, the treatments you feel are good and what you do feel is good, and two, could you have done something before? Because I have plenty of family members who do the same, like, oh, just fucking suck it up bullshit. And then they realize that they can't suck it up. And the longer you wait, the worse it gets.
Right.
So I don't know where to start with this, but maybe you can start somewhere. I know you really well, and I know that there's a lot of different things that go on. So would you like to touch on the subject?
So besides the pyloric stenosis that happened when I was a kid, I had spinal surgery at what year was that? I think I had in 2013. So almost 8 years ago, something like that. But I had an accident in 2009 where I fell through a mezzanine, which for anyone that doesn't know what a mezzanine is, it's basically like if you're in a warehouse and you see like the storage shelves like go up all the way to the ceiling kind of thing. And there's pathways, like walkways in between the aisles above your head where you can like go upstairs to that second floor and like walk around the aisles that way. I fell through the...
Did OSHA come out for that?
They did not, but I don't really know all the details about all that. But so what ended?
I'm OSHA certified. I'm disappointed.
So what happened was it came down to a he said she said thing. I was working for a company in Cheshire, and we were having a mezzanine installed in our warehouse because we lost half of our warehouse due to reconstruction. They were moving another department over there, and we had a lot of space that was getting taken away that we needed. So they were putting a mezzanine in, and the people that installed it finished it, except the stairs weren't put in. So they said, hey, if you need to go up there, just use a ladder. We'll be back on Monday with the stairs.
None of this jives with me.
No, none whatsoever. Yeah, and it wasn't jiving with me either. So, and then the one of the managers came out to my department and was like, hey, corporate's coming down on Monday. We need our conference room cleared out. Could we put some of the stuff in the warehouse? And I just got like my monthly shipments in. So like there's pallets everywhere. And I'm like, where do you want it? Like there's no room out here for any of that stuff that you want cleared out. Well, what about the mezzanine? And I'm like, so my coworker and I had to go clear out the conference room, had to go put everything up on top of this mezzanine. And I was the only one up there. He was handing stuff up to me. I didn't feel safe while I was up there. I remember putting everything away, and I was like, okay. I went back to the ladder, and that's the last thing I remember. I remember waking up on the floor below. My coworker was holding my neck in place, and he was screaming for someone to call 911.
What's the story? What happened? Did the ladder tip? Did something collapse? How did that work?
The floor wasn't secured, so I fell right through. So it
collapsed.
Not the whole thing, just that floor, the landing that I was on. So basically, I wish I could draw this out for you. Yeah, so I took a step, right, and the floor slid forward. If it fell back with me, it could have fucking impaled me, and I would have died. But it went forward and away from me.
I want to chime in with this. I've been in construction for over 20 years, and I'm OSHA certified and an OSHA trainer. And if you ever feel unsafe, and I'm talking to the Roads We Traveled podcast listeners, if you ever feel unsafe, don't do the job. They can't fire you for it. They can't. It's against the law. Don't do it.
So
whatever they tell you, bullshit. You don't do it. Like,
so, yeah.
Perfect example.
So I had a 12-foot drop. I hit a step ladder on the way down, and I landed on the concrete below me. I don't remember any of it. I just remember waking up like, what the hell just happened? My coworker screaming for someone to call 911, and an ambulance showed up and took me away to St. Mary's Hospital. So, yeah.
Jesus.
And it turned out I had a couple herniated discs in my lower back that didn't really protrude until later on. But every surgeon I talked to was like, hey, you're going to need surgery for this. And
if you don't mind, one time I'm going to have you talk to my students to show them the importance of safety.
Yeah. So
man, that's fucking rough.
And I went through when it finally like came to the point where I couldn't even physically work anymore. I was in so much pain. I was battling with insurance companies because I had 2 surgeons telling me I needed surgery, and then their doctors were saying no. Until finally one day, one of them said, "Yeah, you need surgery." It was a 4-year battle to get approved for surgery. Yeah, so.
Nonsense, absolute nonsense.
But other than that, I've had carpal tunnel surgery. I have glaucoma. I have knee problems.
Let's talk a little bit about the glaucoma thing, because it hasn't come up in a while. You post about it on Facebook, which I think is great, because I think people need to understand that I have vision problems. So I understand the importance of vision. Like, my left eye is legally blind.
I didn't know that.
I understand I was born, my left eye was backwards.
Oh shit.
And they had to do surgery to spin it around. That's why if I do like one of these things, one eye goes all wiggly, the other eye goes all wiggly.
Yeah.
Because I can't focus. And here's my belief, if I can't see, it's going to be fucking hard to live.
That's why I'm hoping to become
glaucoma,
good. That's why I'm hoping to be good with podcasting, because at least I can still have something to do. You know? If I go blind someday,
fine.
I'll be the Stevie Wonder of podcasts. Go on this
path that you're on, you'll do well. Glaucoma is something that isn't talked about, and it's a what do they call it? Degenerative condition where it slowly consumes you over time, kind of like muscular dystrophy does.
It's kind of like it's not as bad as macular degenerative, and that's what my mother has. My mother is legally blind, and blindness runs in my family. My grandmother on my mother's side was blind. My mother's legally blind. She could see, but she has a hard time with it, where it's like she could see out of her peripherals more than what she can actually see what's right in front of her. And that's scary to me. And I think I'm the only one. I don't know about previous generations of my family, but I think I'm the only one so far that has glaucoma in my family. So,
how about your brothers and sisters?
They don't show any signs, but we all wear glasses. So, because my dad's side of the family, they have vision problems too, just as much as my mother's side. So, but yeah, I just feel like I take prescription drops every night before I go to bed. And I'm not gonna lie, I smoke a little weed too.
Remember that? Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I smoke weed. I'm not gonna lie. I don't smoke weed religiously, but I mean, I take more CBD than anything. But I do take prescription drops every night, because glaucoma, it's a lot of pressure that builds up in your eye, which I've noticed a lot more. Where my eye, it almost feels like a strain, but a migraine at the same time. Where I'm constantly rubbing my eye, and I'm just like, oh, fuck, I need to get home, put my drops in.
Caffeine or something like that?
I mean, it could be.
Excited?
I don't know. It could be. I mean, I don't consume a lot of caffeine anymore, because I used to drink soda religiously, all the time, and I was putting weight on, and now it's just okay, I'll have a diet soda on my dinner break, and that's it. You know, I drink more water than anything now, but I don't really know.
I'm on the water kick. One of my coworkers he's in his late 70s, and he goes, I'd rather you drink regular soda than diet soda, because the chemicals in diet soda are worse than regular soda. But the best thing is water.
Yeah.
Yep. Aspartame. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I can't help it. I'm working till 1 a.m. most nights. So, I need something, and I'm not a coffee drinker. I can't take the taste of coffee.
Yeah.
So.
I'm a bitch to caffeine. I can't do it. Even if I have regular soda, I get this. I'm like, they're like, what happened? I'm like, I had a Coca-Cola. I don't consume caffeine at all. It's just not in my thing. Like, it's not something I do.
My dad told me he never drank coffee until he got married, and I laughed, and he was like, "You laugh, but it's true." Like,
all I can tell people is the same thing I've always heard: is don't get married. Just don't do it.
If you are, like I said before on our episode, get some couples therapy first. Get a prenup signed.
Doesn't work.
Hey, well then, bye-bye.
Sorry, keeping it real. You're doomed. All right. So now I want to get to the meat and bones of this.
All right.
And that's the angle that you come from with this podcast, which is mental health. Personally, one of my favorites. I mean, it's not my only favorite because I love the fact that we can like game together with all of our friends and your friends.
Right.
We can do podcasts together. We go hang out. Like, we go for hikes. It's a pretty intricate friendship when it comes down to the fact that like we're really being emotional and real with each other. But I really want to talk to you about where you come from a mental health perspective. Now, I've had the discussion with you about kind of like how I grew up, and even in this podcast currently, where my upcoming was rough, and so was yours. But I don't have, at least how I feel, I don't have the same kind of anxieties and depressions and different things that you would have, or Josh would have, or Chris or Mike, or any of the people that you've had on your podcast. So the question I have for you is, where are you at with your mental health, and what are you doing to help yourself both personally without medications, and therapy and with medications?
So, I mean, like,
sorry, big question.
Yeah. So depression really runs in my family. My mother has it. She also has anxiety. I'm pretty sure my dad has it, but he never got treated or talked to anybody about it. So, but I know my sister has a lot of anxiety. I know my younger brother has a lot of depression and some anger problems.
Do you have anxiety issues?
I do now. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I had it longer than I think I have, because like there were signs of it, just overthinking sometimes, and then stressing, and then that just sends you.
Let me cut you off here. How does anxiety feel to you?
Like I can't control things, like I'm constantly in fast forward mode. You know what I mean? We're like, oh my God, this
not quite.
Okay, so like, say for instance, like I'm thinking about some bills coming up. You know what I mean? Like, oh, my bank account is going to be X, Y, and Z because I don't have enough to pay this, that, and the other. Oh shit, I also have this coming up, and I have a medical bill coming up, and so asked if I could borrow some money, and then like, oh wait, I have this other thing I need to take care of, this, that, and then my mind is just racing at this point where I can't breathe. You know what I mean? And that's what Go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish your thought. I don't want to interrupt. Sorry.
So that's what was happening. And I wasn't getting panic attacks until this year, which was, I might have been getting them earlier than that. I just never really noticed. But I was starting to get like chest pain, like violently bad chest pain, to the point where I was suffocating. I thought it was my asthma, and it wasn't. Like, and I would I would get dizzy. I would feel very weak, and I this happened at work a lot, where I had to run outside and get some air. And my supervisor was noticing, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "No, I don't feel okay. Like, just give me a minute." And then I come back in to the point where like I had a really, really bad one back in March or something like that this year, where he had to drive me to the hospital. And I felt like I was dying. Like, my heart was racing. I was sweating. I was struggling to breathe. My whole body was in fight or flight mode, like survival mode. And I didn't know what was going on. And we got to the ER, and they did like an EKG. They ran a bunch of tests. They didn't find anything.
Yeah, they're looking for medical.
Yeah, and they're like, and then they started asking me mental questions too, like, do you suffer from depression? I'm like, yes. And they're like, well, do you have any anxiety? I'm like, I'm not sure, but I think I might. And then once I told them like everything that led up to what happened, they're like, you had a panic attack. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, you need to talk to your doctor about some treatments and to talk about getting some therapy. So I'm like, all right. So that's what I did.
Before we get on the therapy and the treatment part, I want to ask this question. When you said they asked you if you had depression and you said yes, how did you know you had depression? Did you just go based on what somebody told you?
No.
Or did you go based on some of the experiences and thoughts that you have?
I've always struggled with depression my whole life. Like I've always felt like I'm not good enough for people, like I'm a burden. I've always felt low about myself and self-confident. I've had suicidal thoughts since I was a teenager, especially since my parents divorced at a young age. And I was caught.
Let me ask, in what way do you feel like you would be a burden on somebody?
That's just how your mind tricks you when you feel depressed. Like you constantly feel like you're not appreciated and you're not wanted. And that was something that my mind was telling me, and it was wrong because that's not true at all. And I would constantly lock myself in my room all the time in the dark, just blasting music to myself and just like crying or like writing or, just isolating and and that was the worst thing I could do for myself when I was depressed. But that's how it was. Like I was getting picked on at school, bullied. My parents divorced, they were constantly arguing and kind of like putting a wall between.
Lot of environmental stuff.
There was a lot, and I didn't have anyone really to talk to or escape from. And my only escape was locking myself in my room. That was it. I didn't want.
Which was what most of us did when we were young.
Yeah.
There was even the internet was in its infancy, so there was none of that. Like I could go and like do what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like this wasn't a thing 20 years ago.
I couldn't talk to friends about this. I had a very, very small circle of friends, and like they didn't understand what I was going through, like, and that's fine. Like it's not a big deal. I mean, like if I didn't get, when my parents were getting divorced, like my mother was kind of forcing us to go to like group therapy together. And that wasn't really helping for me because I didn't want to sit there and talk to my siblings and my mother about how I was feeling. So we ended up.
Nope, I didn't. That's why I didn't do it to my kid.
Yeah. So I ended up talking to a school counselor because my mother reached out to her saying like, hey, there are things going on at home. Could you reach out to my son and, check in on him and see what's going on? So that's what happened. And I felt more safe talking to her about stuff. And then I started to feel better at the end of the day. I was like, okay, like I think I could get through today now, this, that, and the other.
I want to pause right here for a second. And I want the listeners to understand that if you have a school counselor or somebody that you have a positive rapport with, like AJ's talking about, that's a big thing. Like, because your child doesn't want to talk to you or the mother or the father or the grandparents or whatever in that network. They want to vent to somebody that they still feel they're trusted to talk to, but they may not say what they want to say to you. And kids don't say everything they want to say to you. Like when I talk to my daughter, it's an exercise to get the information that I'm looking for, but I can call her teacher or her counselor and I can get that shit right off the bat.
Right.
So use the resources that you have. I wanted to throw that out there because my daughter is going through the same thing, like with our divorce and stuff, that even though I got divorced in 2019, my daughter is still like I see the paintings, like she's writing like love paintings and family paintings and stuff like that and drawing those kind of things.
Yeah.
And I understand that that's deep emotional, like that's her feeling the way she feels. So by all means, you should be using every resource possible to find out what somebody's going through. Like AJ said, when he was a kid, he went through a lot, and you gotta listen and you gotta pay attention to the other people and put it together.
Yeah,
I just wanted to chime in with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I
something that gets missed.
Like I don't have kids, but I have a niece and a nephew, and my nephew is 17.
You're awesome with them too.
Yeah. Thanks.
I love the relationship you have with them.
Yeah,
He's such a good uncle.
Yeah, my niece is awesome too. She sometimes plays games with us, and I love her for it. But like you were saying there, like my nephew is such a great kid. He's so smart. He's intelligent, but he makes a lot of dumb teenager decisions. And my sister vents to me a lot about it. And I know he's probably listening too, so I'm not going to call him out too much on it. But
Yeah, don't.
yeah. So, but I will say though, like, you know, you don't like he talks to me about certain things here and there, but I know he doesn't tell me everything, and he's not. You know what I
But
mean?
you're a different.
Exactly.
You're a different source to vent to. Like
Right.
he's not going to vent to his mom and be like, "Hey, mom, I did this." He'll talk to
Right.
you, like I call you your Uncle AJ to Audrey. Josh is Uncle Josh.
Yeah.
Like I do the same thing. I'm like, look, you can tell them whatever you want because when they tell you, it'll come back to me at some point, and then I can help.
Right. I'm more of the cool uncle to like my nephew and my niece, and like not to call out my brothers.
Fuck uncle.
But you know, I love the relationship I have with them and everything. But I want them to feel safe, and I want them to feel like they can open up to me. But I also want them to, you know, like I understand what you're saying too with your daughter. Like it's hard for them to open up completely and tell you what's going on in their lives because
they never will.
They
will never talk to the direct parent.
Yeah,
the way they talk to an uncle, an aunt, a cousin,
or a therapist. Yeah. So I've been.
It's just not a thing.
Yeah, and I've been telling my sister, I was like, you know, maybe you should talk to their counselor and like see what's going on. You know what I mean? Like get and
talk to the teacher.
An objective, well, maybe not so much a teacher, but like an objective personality. You know, questioning what you do is a great thing because you know, like my therapist, for instance, like we're not friends, like, you know what I mean? Like I pay to see her, you know what I mean? But she gives me.
But you also have to be comfortable with the therapist that they're not just kind of like
exactly.
So like I went to marriage counseling, and that marriage counselor, all she cared about was our money.
Yeah, exactly.
She told us twice that we had issues that were reportable to DCF, and she didn't report it. And I'm like, you're legally obligated to report it.
Right. I mean,
my ex-wife is still seeing her, so she's a money whore, and I'm just like, this is not. I'd rather talk to AJ than this lady.
And I'm not trying to say anything bad about my therapist. My therapist is great. You know what I mean? Like we have a great relationship when we're there together, but I'm not texting her when like, oh, hey, this, that, and the other. Like I probably could, but like I'm not, you know, I don't do that. But like when I come in, she listens. Like, you know,
that's what you want. You want somebody that can like analyze and talk to you about a situation.
And then
you feel comfortable that you're able to talk to them.
Exactly. And like, you know, when I say like, you know, I had a little too much to drink this week, she'll, well, why is that? You know, what was going on with you this week that caused you to have more alcohol than you wanted to? And then I'll be like, you know, I don't know. And then like I think about it, and then I tell her, and she's like, well, what happened? Like, how did you resolve that? How can you resolve that next time without going down this road? Is it, you know, I know you love hiking. I know you love podcasting. I know you love gaming with your friends. Like, what out of those things can you do to not go reach for that drink or not, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And it's just like someone else kicking you in the ass to get more motivated with yourself. And it's also keeping the gears
with each other.
Exactly. You know, keeping those mental health gears grinding, because your brain is just another muscle like every other muscle in your body. And if you're not maintaining it, you're going to feel like crap all the time, you know? So
correct. I feel like talking to people like yourself and others in our group, you know what, really keeps my shit together. And I mean that. Dude, I honestly mean that.
You ever need to hit me up in the middle of the night, dude, please call me.
I know. Oh, I know. I know you're there. Like,
I'm up.
You're in a group of like 6 people that I can always reach out to. One of them is my mom. My mom is fucking an amazing person. My dad's, he's climbing the ranks now too. He was pretty like self-centered for a long time, but after this last like 2 weeks I hung out with him this summer, I think he's figured out that we're all human and we got to be cool.
Yeah.
And that's what I look forward to, and that's what I teach.
I wish I had that relationship with my dad. You know,
it took me forever to get here, and even still, I mean,
yeah.
my dad ignored me for 7 years. So I tell him flat out, I'm like, yo, man, I have a hard time talking to you after, 7 years. You just fucking kicked me to the curb.
Yeah.
And he apologizes. And I said, I understand the apology, but you need to understand the fact that I'm still not over it. Like, I'm 40 years old and I'm still not cool with it.
I'm still
like, it's hard.
Yeah, I'm still not over the fact that my dad made me keep his secrets for him for almost 10 years. And then the only time they came out was after his heart attack because I was going to be left holding the bag for that.
Nobody should be responsible for anybody else's doings, like whether they're right or wrong. Like, you should never ask. Like, that's kind of like that what they call that, the teacher-student boundary, where you're not supposed to like tell your students to do certain things because there's a boundary. I feel the same way about parenting. Like, I shouldn't ask my daughter to lie or to keep something to herself. Like, I'd rather just have good conduct of character. And if I have that good conduct of character, my daughter is never telling anything that isn't false.
Right.
And we should do the same way when we do that with teaching or with parents. Like, we should be people in doing the just thing, but not everybody feels that way.
Exactly.
I mean, my brother was a piece of shit for a very long time. And I still have doubts on his integrity, but he looks like he's going in the right direction. We'll see how it goes. I don't have faith in it, but maybe he'll prove me wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you.
And if he does prove me wrong, yes.
That's all that matters, I just,
All right. So
yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was just gonna say, this is
your podcast.
Well, it's technically yours today, so just for today. So.
No, I want you to get your thoughts across. I want everybody to. My goal for this podcast is to make sure that everybody understands where the host comes from. And I know where you come from for the most part. I would say like maybe 65%. Like, I got you down, but the rest of it,
I am an enigma.
Know who AJ is.
I'm an enigma.
It's rough, man.
I can't even say the word. I'm having a hard time saying the word, and I haven't had any alcohol today, so just getting tongue twisted with this. I am an enigma. There we go. Okay, there we go. Got it.
You are the perfect example of what everyone is going through, but you also want to be a part of it. It's what any good presenter does. And I hate to put this reference, but Robin Williams was somebody who struggled with so much shit, but he also presented all of that shit right up front. I just finished the Dave Chappelle special, and I'll tell you what, at first I didn't like it, but once I finished it, fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal special. It's Dave Chappelle standing there telling you what is on his heart and sleeve. I don't care. Everybody who bashes it, assholes.
Yeah.
I don't care. I have plenty of friends in all different communities who think that it's this hateful fucking special. They're morons. I don't care.
I haven't watched it yet.
Dave Chappelle literally talks about his emotions in his last 20 years in the industry.
Right.
It's almost like philanthropy. It's not even a comedy special. It's like him just venting. And that's what you do. Like, you come up and you talk about all of the things that you're emotional about and the things that you care about, and then you give the platforms so we can talk about it.
Right.
So, I'm going to ask you this question. Music.
Oh, boy.
Music was a very big outlet for you, I'm sure.
Yes.
How come you're not doing it anymore?
It's time. Time is a big thing. I talk to Castro every now and then about projects we want to work on, and I had a couple people lined up, but it's just like he's getting married right now. I'm still working my 2 jobs and then the podcast and everything. It's just there's not enough hours in the week. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've been writing in journals and stuff, just like thoughts in my head, down on paper that I keep to myself. And
are these journals just lyrical stuff or just your day-to-day life?
Just, like whatever I'm feeling in the moment. It's not really lyrically. It's more like if I'm thinking about something, I'll write it down. And then if,
that's cool.
The time comes where, I have more time to work with these guys on stuff, if like you or somebody else sends me a nice guitar track or something like that, and I'm feeling it, like, I'll piece it together myself from there. But for right now, it's just, I'm still working on the podcast. I've got plans for next year, which we talked about already, that I want to do. But music is not completely out of my life.
Any of those plans later?
Yeah, I'll share them like towards the end. But
we'll get on that.
Yeah. For right now, it's just like music will definitely come back in my life at some point. I'd like to put a solo album out at some point in my life. Just so I could put that stamp of approval on, because I've always been self-conscious about the way I sound, because it was either I wasn't happy about a take or I wasn't too thrilled about the style we were going for because it wasn't my choice. You know what I mean? Like,
let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just
what is some of the criticisms you have on your music? Like, you're a vocalist, correct?
Right.
To my knowledge, you don't play any other instruments.
I've tried playing guitar. I used to play a little bit back in high school, but I wasn't anything.
So the answer is
no.
It.
Yes.
So you're a vocalist. So
yes.
what is some of the things that you as a vocalist, what do you critique yourself on?
Just, hearing the playback is something that you need to get used to, because like you think you sound away in your head, and then when you hear it, it's not how it sounds in your head. So you're like
what?
Like,
see where I'm going with this? I'm drilling down.
Yeah,
let's go.
It's kind of hard to explain, you know what I mean? Because like right now, as I'm talking, like I feel like I sound a lot more deeper, but then like I hear the audio coming back through my headphones, and I'm like, that's not how I sound like coming out of my mouth. This is what it sounds like you know what I mean? It's just weird. So like, I don't really know how to explain it, but like, it was just something that, if I did some clean vocals that wasn't on key, that I would try to get, and then I finally get it, and then it wasn't a good take, or it was good to like the band members, they were like, oh, it was perfect. And then I hear it back and I'm like, it's still not good, but like they
still
put it out.
Point.
Yeah, they still put it out anyway. But like, it's just, I'm constantly critiquing myself, and it's something that I have to learn to, it's okay to critique yourself and like push yourself to be better, but there's also a time where you need to stop doing that, because you're going to drive yourself nuts doing it. You know what I mean?
You feel like this falls into some of your personality traits where you feel
absolutely.
Like you're all right.
Absolutely. I would not be able to call myself on that a few years ago, like, because I would constantly be like, no, it's not good. It's not good. We got to do better.
How do you handle the criticism? Like, if somebody were to listen to your track and say, hey, you need to do A, B, or C, like if it's a band member or the producer or the sound engineer or something, how do you handle that criticism?
I mean, if it's like constructive, like, sure, absolutely. Like, let's figure it out. Like, what needs to be fixed? Like, how can we go about doing it? But if it's like somebody else, like off the street saying, you suck, I'd be like, okay, like, whatever. It's not, it's, like.
See, I take a different approach in that. Like, I put some of our Fear the Masses music out, and I got the "You Sucks," and I hit them up, and I'm like, hey, you said I suck. What sucked?
Yeah.
Like, I like put them on the spot. Like, if you're gonna criticize, like, tell me what it is, because I'm more than happy to accept criticism if you have some sort of legitimate gripe. If you're just like, this sucks because it's stupid. Like, that doesn't make for an educated result.
I get where you're coming from, but like, not a lot of people like know why you suck. You know what I mean? Like, they'll just, oh, it's fucking terrible. You know what I mean?
That is the quote of the year. I love that. A lot of people don't know why you suck.
Yeah, exactly.
Clip that shit. That was incredible, AJ. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. They don't know how to play guitar. They're just like, oh, that fucking guitar lick sucks. Well, how does it suck? I don't know, it just sounds terrible. Well, explain to me why. Like, what can I do differently? I don't play guitar. Okay, so then shut the fuck up. Like,
It's like every time I play the opening riff for Down with the Sickness, everybody gives me this look. I'm just like, what? This is a good fucking song. You remember when it came out? It was #1 on the charts.
2000, dude. Yep. That's one of my favorite fucking bands, man. I was supposed to go see them too, and then COVID hit. But you know what? I'm kind of glad because like they were. I don't want to get too political, but I don't know if I'm much of an Aaron Lewis fan anymore because they were gonna go on tour with
I
Stain.
was never an Aaron Lewis fan.
I was for a long time. Like I appreciate what
Cries too much.
Okay, so dealing with the depression, their music got me through a lot of it. Those times where I was locked in my bedroom, I was listening to Stain. I was listening to Cold, Smile Empty Soul, like whatever was helping me get through that. So that's why I appreciate it. What I don't appreciate is the now time where he's up on stage half in the bag singing, you know, songs that he's been playing for years, messing them up, and then starting chants saying,
oh, you mean Godsmack?
Or starting chants like fuck the president, fuck the president. Why are you know what I mean? Like there's no people are there to listen to you play.
When I saw
you
Coldplay was one of my favorite bands until they ran this advertisement about how George W. Bush was Hitler during the middle of the show that I was at in Hartford. And I'm like, I didn't come here to see your political advertisement from a band who is British and has no stake in the United States political game.
I don't need to see your T-shirt that says "fuck Biden." Yeah, like you're entitled to your opinion, but like I don't want to see you on stage blatantly saying "fuck the president" and then screaming, chanting "fuck the president." You know what I mean? Like I didn't.
When I went and saw Coldplay, it was 30 minutes. Of a political advertisement video, and I'm just like, look.
Not cool.
Not for me.
That's what social media is for, that everyone is using. You know what I mean?
Right.
Save your political bullshit for up there. You know, of course I'm gonna ignore it, but I mean, like, you know.
Yeah, I go past that now. You have any plans to? I know you were saying a little bit about having a personal album, and I know we've talked about it for several years about you having a solo album, which fizzled out into nothing.
It's not fizzled out. There's still an ember there. The spark is there. It's just not. There's no gas for the fire yet. So,
are you planning on getting back into the music industry?
I don't plan on touring or playing live shows like back in the Red days.
That was not the question. Are you planning to get back into the music industry? I didn't say touring and all that stuff. I said, are you planning to get back?
I don't know. I just want to do an album and see where it goes. You know, like if there's a lot of positive feedback from it, cool. Maybe I'll keep going. But like, this is kind of those once in a lifetime things where like, if I don't do this, like I'm going to regret it. You know what I mean? Like I want to do something that I'm proud of, and that's it. But as far as like,
are you going to do another acoustic, charity show like you did at Bleachers? Because that shit was awesome.
That was a lot of fun. I mean, I'd love to. It's just right now figuring all that out with COVID still and the protocols and trying to find a place to rehearse, because like where we used to rehearse is not there anymore. So
we can use the Fear the Masses space if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we can talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a key.
Cool.
Because, I pay for it.
But yeah, I mean, like, it's not out of the question. I mean, like, even when the solo album is done, like, I want to do maybe like one show and that's it. Like, I don't want to play 2-3 times a month. I don't want to give people the wrong impression that I want to go out and play gigs all the time, because I don't. I'm like kind of over that right now.
Yeah, you be upfront with what you want to do.
Yeah, I would like to throw like one big banger, with bands that I get along with and love and respect the hell out of, and just like, have a great time like we used to. But like, I just don't want to grind anymore like back in the Red days, because like I just don't have the time for it. Like I would love to play the Webster again, but nah, like,
I'll be playing the Webster in March. Yeah. I'll be playing with Drowning Pool and El Nino and Head PE.
Hell yeah, dude.
What a fucking bill.
Dude, El Nino. Fuck yeah, dude. You said Non-Point too?
Got postponed.
Yeah, I know. You said
it's going to be it's Drowning Pool, El Nino, and Head PE.
Oh, Head PE. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah,
that'll be like my 7th time playing with Head PE.
I played with them once. Yeah. I played with them once with Non-Point, and that was at the Palladium years ago.
What is one of your memorable, because I don't want to say most favorite anymore, what is one of your memorable moments about being on stage? For me, one of the things I loved was when you guys played at in Naugatuck, and you played at I
The
feel
Cooks?
bad because I had them at the cafe.
Cook's
Damn
Cafe.
it. Cooks, yes.
Yeah.
And you guys just put on like a phenomenal show. Like you killed it. Even though there was like nobody, like it was a low turnout for all of us.
Yeah.
But you guys were just like on point. Like just
Well, that's how you got to be. Like
crushing it.
even if you're playing to one person or 1,000 people, you have to bring the energy, and that's what brings more people to every show after that, because they remember that band was fucking amazing.
What's one of your most enjoyable stage moments?
I mean, like nothing beats that Hailstorm show. It was, the middle of July. It was stupid hot at the Webster that day, and it was sold out. It was 2,000 people. We played main stage. We had the time right before Hailstorm because they didn't have any touring bands for that show. It was us, and then it was us. It was us, and then it was Hailstorm. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I will never forget that because, dude, like I've never seen all the times I've played the Webster or I've went to shows at the Webster, I've never seen the Webster that packed before, and it was just so amazing. And I loved every second of it, and I'll never forget it. But I mean, like, we've had a bunch of great times playing there, hanging out with people and stuff like that. If it wasn't for the Webster, I wouldn't know you guys, because I don't remember what show it was, but I remember talking with Josh outside and getting to know him, and that's how we all became friends and started playing shows together. That's how I met Scotty. Yeah. Scotty was on the Buck Cherry show.
Becoming friends with you guys was one of the best parts of my musical career. Like between you and Scotty and Gene, and I remember like we were hanging out all at bleachers, and everyone's coming over, and they're like, "Is that the All That Remains?" And we're like, "Yeah, shut the fuck up. Just order a drink or get some food.
Leave him alone." Yeah.
Like she's a human being.
Exactly.
Leave her alone.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I love you guys.
Yeah, I love you too, man.
The music scene has created some great friends for me. So
same here, man. Like it,
definitely appreciate it.
I felt more like, not to say anything bad about my immediate family. I love my immediate family and I do anything for them. But like Chris said something on his episode, like the music scene was his college years. You know what I mean? And I felt the exact same way because I never went to a real college. But like those times together, like I had that family. You know what I mean? Where like we were always there for each other. Like, hey, so-and-so backed out of the show. Can you guys fill in? Absolutely. Like, you know what I mean? Or like, hey, you want to chill? You want to do something this weekend? We're off this week or something like that. Yeah, absolutely. Or like you come to the bar at the end of a set and there's already a beer and a shot waiting for you. And like, it's just that kind of stuff. Like I loved and I miss a lot, I
tell people that friends can always become family. Like family doesn't have to be the only family. I went through a big rough patch with my actual family where people I cut off. Like I understood that
you got to set boundaries.
Just because you're family doesn't mean I need to talk to you. Like there's no requirement. I didn't sign any contract that says that, my brother or my cousin or my aunt or my nephew or whoever is like, I don't need to just undyingly give them my love and support.
Right.
I'd rather give my undying love and support to people that I think deserve it.
Right.
And that can be my friends too, like you, Josh, Chris. Like I have those people that are just like, that's it. Like that's my family. Unless they prove me wrong, that's my family. Exactly. It doesn't mean that they're the only family. Like my mom is one of the best people I know. My dad is grown on me in the last few years. Like he's a fucking awesome dude. Just took him a long time to get there.
Yeah.
Just being smart with your decisions means more than just assuming that you have to pick a team.
Right. Exactly. I mean, like, it's very well said too. Like, I like I said before, I wish my dad and I were a little bit better with each other, but like you said, like I set up boundaries, you know what I mean? Like my dad was constantly drowning in his depression and his anger and not doing anything to rectify it, to the point where I was like, I can't do this with you anymore. Like every time we hang out, you're constantly venting about your problems and you're not doing anything. Every time I tell you what to do, you're not doing it. On top of the secrets that he made me keep from the rest of my family for years, was something that I resented a lot. and we talked about it afterward. But now it's to the point where it's like we don't talk much anymore. Like, I picked him up from the hospital months ago because he had what the hell was it? He had some procedure done, and he had a hernia or something like that. Yeah, and I picked him up from the hospital. That was like the first time in a while like I've seen him. You know what I mean? And other than that, like he only texts me now if he needs something off of Amazon. And I'm like, Dad, I can't keep ordering stuff for you. Like you're a grown man with a credit card. You can figure it out. You know what I mean? But like, still, it's like, it's like every time, he would hit me up like, hey, I need this. I'm like, hey, Dad, how are you? Like, what's going on? Like, how are you feeling? How are you? I wouldn't get anything in response other than like, hey, I need this thing for my garden. We might order. I'm like, okay, fuck me, right? Like,
yep.
Like, why do I have to deal with that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to, and I choose not to deal with it because it's not good for my mental health. So,
family doesn't necessarily have to be people you need to keep close. It's not required.
Exactly.
I've cut people off that are family to me. My stepsister hits me up all the time, and she hits me up. Her starting sentence is, "I'm not a crack whore like everyone says," and I'm like, "What the fuck?" But at the same time, that's what she's doing. So like, I know all about it, but okay, you want to just send me messages for money and stuff. I don't even play. I just close it out and move on. Like, and that's the thing that people have to understand, that family are people, but people don't have to be family.
Exactly.
And that's the separation you have to make. You have to understand that, like, look, I'd rather say AJ is family versus this person over here who is just terribly navigating life. And do I wish they would do better? Of course I do. But is there anything I can do about it?
Nope.
It might be limited. It might not even be possible. I don't know.
I'm at that point. I'm at that point with my little brother right now too. I don't want to say what's going on with him, but it's exactly like what you just said. Like you can only lead a horse to water for so long. You know what I mean? And people need to learn.
It's disappointing, but
it is.
You have to be smart enough and strong enough to understand that you're doing the best you can, and you shouldn't have to overburden yourself.
Right.
To pretend like there's like you're not Jesus. You're not going to come in there and solve everybody's problems or whatever.
You have to take care of yourself first and foremost. You can't take care of anyone else until you can be able to take care of yourself. That goes in relationships with significant others. That goes with absolutely everything. If you are constantly giving and giving and giving and giving and not giving anything back to yourself, you're going to be hollow. You're going to be empty. You're going to be depressed, suicidal, and whatever else. You know what I mean? Like. And that's how I was for a very long time until I finally put my foot down and said, no, like I've had enough.
I tell people flat out that I'm number one and my daughter is 1.1.
Yes.
I come first, because if I don't look after my well-being,
how can you look after anyone else?
My daughter ain't going to be going to have a daddy. So
exactly. So
no disrespect, but it's just how it works.
Exactly. So, and I had to learn that, man. I had to learn that, and I'm glad I did, because like it stirred up a lot of trouble with my family for a while. We weren't talking for a while, but I had to do it, and I'm glad I did. And now things are, things were bad with my siblings for a while. Now they're actually really good. You know what I mean? Like they've gotten a lot better, and I'm happy for it. Like, not so much with my dad.
Happy for you, man.
Thanks, man.
It's tough when you wanna connect with people, but they're not ready to connect with you, I guess is the best way I can put it.
Right, exactly.
And then when you actually find that path, like my brother and I don't get along usually, but at least we're on cool ground right now. And we talk. When he calls me, I'm not mad that he called.
Yeah.
I'm not thrilled that he called, but at least I'm not pissed off.
That's kind of how,
hey man,
that's kind of how my relationship with me and my older brother was. Cause like after he got through his chemo and like everything was fine and everything like that, like he was so used to getting that attention from people growing up. And when he wasn't getting the attention,
you can't blame him.
No, you can't blame him. But like when we were all kids, we never understood that. So like if he wasn't getting the attention, he was getting it in negative ways, where he was constantly being annoying, pushing us around, acting like a bully, this, that, and like just driving us nuts. And like I don't think he outgrew it until a few years ago, because now it's like, he has anxiety too. He has really bad anxiety. He doesn't know how to deal with it. But like whenever I see him now, like I can have a normal conversation with them. And I'm like, what the hell happened? Like before you would be like
That's
super,
big.
you know what I mean? Like,
That's so big.
yeah, there was a point where my mother was in the hospital for something and she was fine. But like him and I were there. I think this is when the time when I first got diagnosed with glaucoma. And it was just him and I there, and my aunt and uncle were there. And my brother and I were walking back to the elevator, and he was like, "What's going on with your eye?" And I was like, I just found out I got glaucoma." He's like, "Oh my God, are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. I got prescriptions and stuff." And he's just like, "Well, what's going to happen
That's
now?"
a lie. You're not all right.
No, I know, but I mean, like, it's just still, it's just that amount of caring coming out of him, because like he'd be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what the fuck?" You know what I mean? Like, like his anxiety would go through the roof. This and they'd be like, "What are you
Instead of
gonna
talking to
do?"
you
Like,
straightforward,
yeah,
like,
like
how do you feel about it?
So I was like, this is weird. And then like he would text me every now and then, or he would ask my mom how I'm doing, and I'm like, what is going on with him? She was like, he seems to be chilling out a lot more. I'm like, good. Like, so he still has
As
his
you get
moments
older,
though.
normalcy sets in, and then you realize that everybody's going through life.
Yep.
It's not a me versus you or you versus them. It's a me versus me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And hopefully we can all just kind of move through this path together, but
Exactly.
it ain't easy.
Nope.
I texted my dad the other week and I told him, I said, "Hey man," he came up from Florida. He bought this nice camper that he towed behind his truck. And he came up here and he stayed a week at a campground near me and then extended his stay. Then he went to another campground. And because he liked being close to me and Audrey, he rebooked the same campground for another week.
That's awesome.
So he stayed up here for almost a month. And I told him in a text message, I said, "You being here in the month was the most happiest time I've had with you and the last 40 years I've been alive." Like, I was very straightforward with him. I'm like, "Look, when I was a kid and you were my dad,
yeah,
you were nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
Like, you were always doing some other shit, cheating on my mom, fucking lifting weights, bounty hunting, whatever the fuck it is you do." I said, "But this last month that you were here meant more to me than the last 40 years I've been on Earth." And he just wrote back, "I apologize, and I wish I had realized this sooner." And that's the kind of shit like that I pick up on. Like, that's the kind of shit I pick on with my friends and family, is that, look, I want to live in the now with you guys.
Right.
Like, that way when I'm older, I'm not regretting the fact that, oh man, remember the time when we didn't do something? I don't want to be that guy. Like,
yeah,
that's why I like doing your podcast. That's like, I like playing games with you guys. It's like Josh and I get on the phone and talk for 2 hours and just do nonsense talk. Like, I'd rather live in that moment than just be like, "Nah, I can't right now because I'm a fuddy-duddy." Like, I'd rather be a part of it all.
I got to get better with that myself too. Like, I have friends that hit me up all the time asking to do stuff, and like I'm getting better at it now. I wasn't comfortable doing it during the whole pandemic, but now it's like, someone will hit me up like, "Hey, you want to go grab a drink?" Sure. Yeah. All right. No problem. But
even something like this where we can just chat, like, so I can at least see your blurry face and be like, "Hey, what's going on?" Like, that means a lot, especially with the technology that we have.
Exactly.
It's about being a part of each other's lives and not just being like, because there's a lot of isolation that gets felt, from a day-to-day basis, whether it was pre-COVID or post-COVID. That isolation is still there for people.
Yeah, I mean, like, isolation's really bad. I mean, like, I've lived on my own for about 10 years now. Just me and my cats, previous iterations of cats that I've had and everything. And, it definitely does a number on your brain. I mean, I was in relationships here and there and didn't work out, but it is what it is. But like, if I didn't have this, like you're saying, like venting or talking or anything, like, especially during the pandemic too, and starting this podcast, I don't know what I would have done, because like it was just rough. It was really rough for a long time, and I still have my days here and there, and that's why I take medication. So, but
I feel that way about it too, because like, I got divorced May of 2020 was when the official divorce decree was issued.
Right.
And my divorce was actually August 11th, a day after my 10-year wedding anniversary.
Jeez.
And it was rough because my life was flipped. Like, I had to get rid of the house that I worked for. I had to get rid of a bunch of things that I had worked for. And I had a bunch of debates and discrepancies between me and the former ex.
Yeah.
And I think without being able to have this kind of technology and being able to talk with friends, like, am I doing well? I think I'm doing better than I would have been. Some shit is catching up with me emotionally and stuff like that, but
And we've talked, and I've
still
given
able
you
to,
advice and stuff, and I'm here for.
yeah,
it
I'm able
too,
to
you know what I mean?
communicate, and
Yeah.
that's what I like. I like the fact that I'm able to communicate with people. I think that's what your podcast really presents. To go back to my initial opening, which was that your podcast does something that, at least for the podcast I listen to, it really brings the outgoing and emotional splurge that somebody can do, but to a local level, like a personal level. And you do a very great job of presenting it, of putting it in a clean cut manner. Like, it's not some half-assed jobby bullshit that people are like, what does this look like? This looks like cookie cutter amateur hour. Like, you do a very good job with that, which I think helps.
Nerd News Happy Hour. Sorry.
So the last
I'm not
part
apologizing for that at all.
Because we're running long, but I still have to ask this. And
it's my podcast. I'm the one editing it, so you don't have to edit any of this. I'm the one editing it. I don't care how long we go.
Hey, I'll be more than welcome to help you whenever you need it. Like, I appreciate what you do. That's why when you asked me to come out on the hike and take the videos and the pictures and stuff, like, I'm all for it. Like, I appreciate what you do. So,
thanks, man.
That being said, what are the plans in the upcoming future for season 3?
All right, so season 3 is going to start in probably March. I'm taking the break. I'm taking the holidays off for my well-being. I need a break, and just to spend more time with friends and family, of course. I'm going to start booking guests again late January and start pre-recording more guests. So probably March we're going to come back with season 3. Josh will be the first guest because he already booked that months ago. He wants to be the he wants to be the first season 3 guest premiere.
Was he season 1 first and season 2 first?
Season 2 was Meredith. Meredith Bell was season 2 premiere.
Good.
Yeah, Josh was.
I love Meredith. By the way,
Meredith is awesome. Shout out to Meredith. But yeah, so we got that in the works. We're also going to be doing a podcast network / gaming network. There's no name for it yet, but I've been talking with Blue Rivera from Blue Presents.
I'm so surprised. I have never heard of this. Tell me more.
I've been talking with Blue Rivera from Blue Presents a Podcast. He's totally down for the idea. I talked to Chris Millay because he was already working on his Gangs of Atheray D&D style thing we're going to do into a podcast.
All that jump drive.
Yeah. So he's totally on board for this. He's super excited about it. I was talking to you and Knob about possibly bringing back Citizens Informed. I'd
be happy to.
I would love for you guys to do that. Oh, excuse me. I have my friends Jay and John. Jay I used to do a podcast with, but Jay and John have some crazy, outrageous stories from like their 20s, their like teenage years to their 20s, and their podcast is going to be about all these crazy stories. I'm sure they're going to have guests on at some point, probably take stories too, but I'm going to help them produce it. I'm going to be the guy in the background. They're going to be the hosts. So that's going to be something in the works. Yep. And a few others too. We're going to be doing, like, everyone was like, especially you, everyone was like, you got to do more roundtables. So Blue and I are actually going to do a show together where we're going to have people from this podcast network that have all these shows. They're going to be on.
I love your roundtable.
Yeah. So we're going to do a lot more roundtables. We're going to do a lot more roundtables on this Untitled show that Blue and I are going to be like kind of like the main hosts, but like we're going to rotate guest hosts out.
Okay, call it round.
Yeah. Could do that. But we'll figure it out. But anyway, that's something in the works. And then a lot of us stream still on Twitch, so like we're gonna post like a lot more gaming content and stuff like that. Like we'll talk about a website and stuff eventually. But like we want to promote each other. We want to help each other out and get a little bit farther because like I think all the content that we have is great. Like we all make amazing content on our own, but like I think coming together as a team would be a lot better and get us farther than we, you know what I mean? Better. So that's going to be something that happens next year. Not exactly sure when it's going to happen, but it will. That's a goal. That's something that my therapist has helped me with is manifesting your goals. Whether it's on a whiteboard, like what is it that you want to do? There's a list there. You're constantly looking at it. What is it you want to do? Manifest it. And that's what I want to manifest. I want to take my creativity to the next level. I don't want to be a machinist for the rest of my life, but I'll do it until my creative side and my creative projects are paying for themselves and I can make a living off of it. So that's what I am.
I've been a plumber for 23 years. I understand.
So but,
you gotta do something to pay the bills.
Exactly.
You enjoy, like my neighbor hit me up. He's like, hey, come check this out. I'm like, I'm in the middle of a podcast, brother. Sorry. Like I enjoy this the most. So for all of you tuning in, this is the final episode for season 2, but season 3 is coming. But before we go, I want AJ to really get into a lengthy monologue about how he feels about not only the roads we traveled, but about just you and your personal well-being as a whole. AJ, it's all on you, brother.
So I just want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in this season. Season 2 has been amazing. So many great guests this year. Definitely go back and check them all out. A lot of them had such great stories from like, doing a lot of big, crazy things from like playing with Chris Jericho or singing for Chris Jericho to, some sadder stories where people were dealing with loss and grief and stuff like that. There's something for everyone with this podcast. You can find something in every episode to help you through, and that's why this podcast is here. So I just want to say thank you to my guests this season for making it such a great and successful season so far. I want to thank my advertisers, OG Barbell, Technique BJJ, The Vapor Edge, Blue Presents a Podcast, Nightcap, a True Crime Podcast. Thank you all for advertising with us this season. Epizon, the band, definitely check them out. They're amazing. Thank you all for supporting the show. I appreciate it. As far as that, I mean, like, definitely we're going to have more content coming to the YouTube channel as well during the break. So be sure to subscribe to that as well, which I'll get into in plugs, obviously. But thank you again from the bottom of my heart for such a great season. Please go back and check out some previous episodes and tell your friends, tell your family, subscribe. And I can't wait to see you all again for season 3.
All right. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Roads We Traveled with an interview with the host.
Be sure.
Lenington. I'm just kidding. AJ Pelletier.
Be sure to.
I was the guest host, and I appreciate the opportunity.
I'll just plug everything real quick, and then we'll go from there. Sound good? Because I know you don't have the list.
Whatever you want to do, it's your show. I just hijacked it for the day.
If you're watching on YouTube, hello. Thank you for watching. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon to get notified every time we drop a new video. If you are listening on audio, thank you very much. We're available on all major podcast networks, Apple, Spotify, Google, Audible now. Make sure to rate and review, leave a comment. We would love to read your comments on the show for next season. You can email the show at roadswe'vetravelpodcast@gmail.com. Send me your questions, your comments, your stories. Might even do a live session on Facebook or YouTube one of these days if you guys send them my way. You can directly support the show by heading over to Patreon at patreon.com/roadswe'vetraveled. Get some merch today on TeePublic. All the links are down below. You can get some merch today that I designed myself. And since we're going to be going on a break right now, you can definitely check out the show. Check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/JRBuckleGaming. I stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. So catch up with me there. You can chat with me, live about the show or about what I'm playing, or if you want to chat with any of the previous guests, like Doug here, for instance, we game a lot on the weekends. And if you want to check out my portfolio, head over to www.alanmpelletierjr.com. All right, Doug, I'm all set. Take us out.
I'm going to chime in here real quick and just say that please support, please comment. If you want to be a guest on the show, please contact AJ. It's a great opportunity to have an open conversation about life, the world, as you saw from this episode and previous episodes. So don't be shy. Let's have that talk. All right. Roads we traveled. We'll see you on the next one.